Sorry, my bad.
There you go.
Hey, there we are. Now we're live. All right. So praise the Lord. Welcome, everybody. Good to see your smiling faces. I know people are going to watch this replay. And so there goes Instagram as well. And when you guys see this, do us a favor, write in the comments where you're watching this from. We'd love to see that. And praise God, we want to talk about Facebook and the harvest, right? And Facebook and Instagram. And praise God, good to see you guys jumping on, different ones of you. Let us know in the comments. Let us know where you're watching this from, whether you're on Instagram or Facebook. And I see several on Instagram have already joined. And so welcome you guys. Bless you. This is our dear friend, Eric Roberts. We've known Eric now, gosh, about 10, 12 years. And knew him through his music ministry. And so that's how we became friends. And so about 6 months ago, he and I, we started a company on the side called ChurchLink, because we were seeing some just a harvest of people on Facebook, Instagram, and stuff like that. So praise God. Yeah, just let us know where you guys are seeing this in the comments. Hey, Pastor Justin, good to see you, my brother from Wisconsin. And God bless you. And so many people don't realize, Eric, that there's a harvest on social media, harvest of people, man. I mean, there's a lot of people out there, to
Yeah.
harvest,
I was thinking about that the other day. Sometimes I get tired of social media, but then I realized that's where everybody is. Like it's like we're living in a weird simulation of social media, right? I mean,
yeah,
it's so strange that no matter if you're on there or you're not on there, every time you get on there, it's like everybody's on there. So yeah, it's happened. It's happened. We're all stuck in our phones, right?
I know, right? You can't go to the store. We went to the mall, and people are bumping into each other, and they're literally. We went to a restaurant. Husband and wife sitting there on their phone, literally the whole time while they're eating. Weren't even talking to each other. Whole families doing the same thing. And
Yeah,
what
it's
opportunity,
crazy. It's
Yeah,
crazy and kind of sad, but then
Right.
as I'm looking through, the next phase of my own businesses and my own ministry, it's like you have to be where people are, I guess. It's the
Yeah.
highway and the byway, Justin said.
Yeah,
Highway
it
and the byway.
is. It really is. And I mean, God can really use it for, reaching the harvest, and so for the last couple of years, we've really begun to delve into it, because we as a ministry, we were just being very, very candid. We were kind of frustrated with using social media until the whole COVID scandal, if you want to call it that.
Yeah, I want to.
Yeah. The COVID scandal 5 years ago. And so, when the whole country was locked down, where did they all go? Over 1 billion were on Facebook alone.
Wow.
1 billion people. Think of that. A sixth of the world was on one platform. And then you look at, the same time with Instagram, and just crazy numbers on social media, to reach the harvest. And so, hey, wherever you guys are watching this, write in the comments, right where you're watching this from. We want to hear it. And great to see our friend from Wisconsin on here this morning. Hey, Chris, I think you're down there by Eric. You're in not Tennessee. I think you're in Kentucky. And I know Pastor South Carolina. Yeah. Hey, Lizzie, good to see you. God bless you. Yeah, we're going to be there soon, Pastor Chuck. Amen. Same with you.
Michigan. It's got to be cold up there.
Michigan. Yeah, so Michigan's on here, a number of others. But yeah, so I was starting to say is that about 1.5 years, 2 years ago, we began to really start to attack social media. And we started to learn about Facebook ads, and we started doing it, and we started to share with Eric. And Eric was Well, you tell your story, man. You tell what happened with you.
Well, yeah, I mean, I've been on social media a long time, but I don't like social media very much. I mean, it's not my favorite thing to do, but I've noticed that I do, I run Worship the King. It's a online lesson thing. So early on for years before YouTube, right when YouTube even was launching, I was starting to play with YouTube, but I was just using it for marketing. And that's what I've been using my social media for. I don't like to share every meal I eat or like share everything about my family, but I've seen it evolve, and I've evolved too, where almost everybody that goes through any of my programs, any of my mentorships, it's all through social media. Uh, I can't, Tom, I can't remember when I called you and I said I had a breakfast with a good friend, and he's in the industry, and I told him about somebody who was using social media to reach people, and I said, if we could do this for the church, this would be huge. And he said, yeah, you should try it. And that's when I told you. I can't, I'm kind of blanking on how did this even come up, because
Yeah.
I mean, I've been running my ads on social media, but it's hard. It's hard to do as an online marketer. I mean, I've spent years spending so much money and maybe not seeing the return that I wanted to. And so I would bounce from platform to platform, do different things, and you're always the algorithm is always changing. So it is typically frustrating, especially if you're spending your own money trying to get through all the noise.
Yeah.
But Tom, I think you told me what was good. That's what it was. You told me what you guys were doing for your meetings
Yeah.
with Facebook. And so when I was sitting with Tom, my other friend Tom, I told him, hey, I've got my friend Tom, look what he's doing. He's getting all these people to come to his meetings through
Yeah.
Facebook ads. And I said, what if we could do that for the church? Because I've been a worship pastor my entire career, over about 25 years, since I was in my 20s. And one of my biggest frustrations, is that churches that I work with, they sit in their staff meeting. They'll talk about how they want to reach people and how they want to fill up the seats, but then I didn't see them doing anything. So I would make suggestions, and they say, well, I don't know about that. Why don't we let's take some some chairs out of the back of the sanctuary this week so it looks fuller. And so I was very, very frustrated as a staff member to be, taking chairs out of the sanctuary. And as a Christian, I was feeling like we have the greatest message of all time. Why do we have to remove chairs and to shrink this down? And so I've always been really,
way to look at it.
yeah, I've been so frustrated. So I talked to my other friend Tom. I said, look, Scarella's doing this in his ministry. What if we could do this for the local church? And he said, this is the number one problem. If you can solve this, this will be huge. So that's when I went back to Tom Scarella and I said, hey, look, we should try this. And we started beta testing with local churches, exactly what he was doing with his traveling ministry. And that's how ChurchLink was really born, out of a desire to really just get beyond taking pews out, or only having 15 or 20 or 30 people. When we look at, when I was working with Kentucky Baptist Church for one of my ministry programs through worship, they have like 2,600 churches. I'm roughly guesstimating, let's say they have 2,500 churches. 70, 80 so percent, like a huge percentage of them are under 75 people, right? And that's how the church looks like in America. But what if we could use these tools like Facebook, Instagram ads to reach people that are on their phones, and it works. I mean, we have stories, and I'm sure we'll tell some stories of churches who have doubled their size within a few years doing what we're doing.
I heard somebody say it was like, people may not walk into a church, but they're scrolling every day. I mean, they sit all day long and they do this, and they're scrolling each day and stuff. And so, just think about all the people that are driving past a church, whether they're in Michigan or Kentucky or Kansas City or wherever people are watching this, but they'll scroll on Facebook and Instagram every day. And unfortunately, a lot of preachers have kind of, gotten on their soapbox and said, well, I don't like it, I stay away from it and stuff. But you got to ask yourself, where are the people? Not where are you, where are the people? And so if the people are there, you know what I mean? And so if you're on Facebook or Instagram or any kind of social media, YouTube, you're watching this, give us a thumbs up in the comments. We just want to get some feedback from you guys. Give us a thumbs up if you 5 minutes a day, or more,
Oh,
And
That's very kind of you, Tom. Let's
I
5 minutes.
should probably say a half hour,
I
but
scrolled 5 minutes before we did our thing.
I hear some people are like, I just do 5 minutes and then while I'm eating my breakfast and that's it. And
Well,
but
look at your phone. I mean, your phone has a time tracker, and sometimes my son will grab it and he'll go, "Dad, you have 4 hours on here." I'm like, "Well, yeah, but I'm working. I'm texting people."
right,
One thing I noticed in my own business is that when I get on social media and I start posting and I start talking to people, I have conversations all day with people. Through my texting and through these ads we're running. The same thing we're doing with ChurchLink, because when you're in business or when you're a pastor, when you're in church, which is, it is the business to reach people. So we're trying to reach people when nobody's coming, and you're like, man, I don't know why nobody's coming. I don't know why nobody's talking to me. What would it be like is if every day 10 or 15 new people were texting you, "Hey, pastor, I'm interested in your church." And I'm getting overwhelmed with my phone beeping now with people who will want to know about what I'm doing, because I'm using this Facebook lead ad formula that we use at ChurchLink. And I have people every day talking to me. One of the great marketers that I studied, he would always say, obscurity is your problem. People don't come to your church. They don't become a member. They don't get involved because they don't know who you are. Think about how many people in your community don't even know who you are.
Don't even know there's a church there. And
yeah,
funny enough, I heard this, that when you talk on, let's just use Facebook as a good example. So when you talk on Facebook or Instagram, you are, what the algorithm does is it prioritizes just your friends or people you're in relationship. And so it doesn't prioritize church and stuff like that, or people outside of your friends. But what really drew me to this whole thing with using the social media to reach the harvest was when I realized, Facebook and Instagram ads, it goes outside of our friends and family and stuff like that. And what it does is it reaches people that have similar needs, or they've written something about it and stuff like that. So they're kind of kicking the tires. And so, even a pastor's got to be honest and say to himself, how many people are seeing his church's ads or his Facebook Live on Sunday morning, and how many of them are just members of his church already? So in other words, it's not reaching the harvest. He's just kind of fishing out of his own bathtub. You understand?
Yeah. Well, in that same thing, one of my mentorships is for piano technicians and worship pastors. And I had talked to people over the last 6 months, because we started running really heavy ads, and I would get people texting me, and they would say, and this goes on right what you're saying. They would say, I didn't know who you were. I had no idea about your website, but I was talking to my wife about, becoming a piano tuner, and the next day your ad showed up. So that's creepy, but that's how it, so if people are talking in their family room, "Hey, honey," this is like Big Brother, but "Hey, honey, we should find a church. We really should get back to church." The next day, your ad shows right up to them. That's how, we can't make that happen, but it seems like, Tom, at least from my experience talking to people, they go, "I never knew who you were. I never looked you up. I just saw your ad. I don't know why it came up. And but I was telling my wife I wanted to be a piano tuner last week or whatever." And so it reaches, advertising reaches beyond your grandmother, your aunt, and your two friends that like your post. It reaches to people who are outside of your network and grows your network in such a weird way. AI is kind of taken over, but then again, it knows who wants to come to church somehow, and it will show your ad to those people and expand your network.
It's so funny. Exactly what you just said took place. We were utilizing Facebook ads for our ministry, and we were ministering in, I want to say, Ohio, your home state of Ohio. And so we selected a particular, radius of where we were going to reach. And so people began to respond like immediately. And so one lady went and even contacted our ministry before we got there to minister. And she said, "I've been clean of drugs for 6 months. I know I need to get back to church. I haven't been in church, she said, in 30 years. She said, I've had a 30-year drug addiction. And she said, I need to get back to church. She went and she came to our meetings. She gave her life to Christ and we prayed for her. She just wept her heart out. And she didn't want to leave. When the service was over, the pastor had to say, listen, we got to go now. And
Right.
she goes, you don't understand. I've been back to church in 30 years. I don't want to leave. And he goes, well, we'll be back on Wednesday. You know what I mean? But such a beautiful picture, of her life turned around, radically gave her life to Christ just through that one ad. And she said, I just said to my girlfriend, I need to get back to church. Boom. All of a sudden, when we did the Facebook ad, we reached that harvest. And so that's why a lot of people don't realize the power of it. And many churches have tried Facebook ads in the past. I've had pastors say, we've tried that. It doesn't work. And that's what we found as well, like you did, Eric, is that it was like lighting your money on fire and throwing it in the street until you and I kind of cracked the code on it and put together ChurchLink. Now, all of a sudden, churches that are utilizing it are finding a great harvest. You and I were talking late last night about a church in South Carolina that had people, already reaching out to them in not even 12 hours. They already had 7 families reach out to them in literally in 12 hours.
That's true. Yeah, right as soon as we started their ad, I mean, before I could even turn the automation on, they had 7 families had opted in to get a person. Look, 7 families opted in over that, that first 12 hours. That's 7 families that the pastor can text, he can email them, he can personally call them. A lot of the churches that we've talked to call these people and they visit, and so we'll talk more about that. But yeah, it's I mean, for example,
a powerful thing.
Yeah, I'm not spending a lot of money in one of my businesses and in one of my mentorships, and I'm getting over 150 people a week who are opting in just to get to know me, and those people are the people who I'm talking to, and so every week, and the power of this number thing is also kind of hard to understand in our physical world. You don't meet 150 new people a week, no matter what you're doing. I mean, unless you're standing on the street corner, just. But over the last,
people are curious. I mean, they're curious. They may be a little cautious, but they're curious. You know what I mean? And
yeah. These people just are interested to get to know you, and they want to kind of see what's going on, and so they'll give you that information, and then we'll start the conversation. And that's a lot of that is automated through ChurchLink, but then it's also something that you can put into your system. You can call them, email them, send them a postcard, a letter. I mean, I had a pastor in a small church that was growing years ago, and we stayed there for a while, but they were a small dying church, and then it became like the biggest church in the Dayton area, and they bought the building of the big mega church when they moved up. So but it started as a church that was going to die. And they said, like, they brought this guy in. Well, this pastor would write us, when we visited, he would write us a personal handwritten card for like the first month. He sent us 2 or 3 cards. And my wife was always like, wow. And then he invited us out to breakfast with a couple other new families, and just doing those little sort of things, grew that church from a dying church to having to purchase the former megachurch building down the street within 7 years. They did that. I think 7 to 10 years. Wow. But I don't think they were even using Facebook ads back then, because that was 15, 20 years ago. But they were doing intentional things, and the numbers get wild because over the last couple months, we've had thousands of people just say, hey, I want to get to know you, and I want to see what's up with the programs that you offer. That's just for my own little thing, running a little ad. Using the Lead Zapper ChurchLink infrastructure is very powerful.
It is. It's so funny because same with us, and we've had so many crazy testimonies. We were in California, and we ran some ads, and we just rented our own venue. We just did our own venue, even knew nobody, and we ran it. One lady came. She had been very similar story, clean of drugs, about 3 months, 2-3 months. And she said, I know I got to get to church or I'm going to fall. I got to get to church. And so she came and she gave her life to Christ that night. God healed her relationship with her mother in the service. It was, I mean, everybody was just weeping. It was so emotional to see this lady. But we put something together, Eric and I did, about why should a church, a ministry, reach the harvest with Facebook ads. And so, so the first thing Eric's beautifully brought out is it's a targeted reach. You're not just blasting it all over the world, but you're targeting your city, your county, your region, whatever it might be. And we've had great success in Canada. So this is not just an American thing. This is a Canadian thing as well, done very, very well and reached the harvest up there. And so, what is it? We're targeting the research. So we put together about 9 reasons why churches, ministries, individuals, whatever, could target reaching souls for Christ through Facebook ads. And number 1 is, like Eric said, is target. I mean, you could really target an area. And
we're running, like, for example, in a local church here, we'd be running a 30-mile radius to, whatever demographic, usually young families or middle-aged families, whatever you want. You can kind of tailor it to your church. And it's so crazy how the algorithms have become so smart. They will just find people. You can even upload a list of people that you like a list of people that you have.
Yeah.
And it'll even go, okay, we're gonna find people like them, people that like this kind of thing, people that are this type of religious denomination or whatever. You can do. You can be very specific. Let Tom, before we go through this whole list, this is not hitting boost a post. A lot of times people say, oh, I boosted a post and it never worked. And look, trust me, I've spent thousands and thousands of my own dollars through the last 2 decades boosting posts, doing different things, and literally getting nothing. So
zero.
Yeah, you can boost a post all day. It will do nothing but take your money. And and I've had some success too, but I've also, you have to fail some, and I've had plenty of things that I've done on social media advertising over the last 2 decades that didn't work. And boosting a post typically will not work to do what we're doing. We have a whole system now that's based on funnels. So so first of all, we're going to target the right people. It's funny when I'm sitting at my house in Nashville and I see an ad for a church popped up, sponsored ad for a church in California or a church in Texas. I'm like, I'm not.
You're 1,000 miles from there. I mean, what the heck?
Yeah, so there's a lot of errors going on in the Facebook, and you can spend a lot of money and get nothing. And I work with people all the time that have done that, and I have done that. But it's targeted, and that's important. It's targeted and it's real specific to your city, to the people that are in your area.
Yeah, and it's something that we not only have a company for, but listen, Eric and I are doing this weekly. I mean, I'm doing it right now. We're going on Saturday. We're flying into South Carolina to minister in South Carolina, and we don't know anybody there. And in just a matter of 2 days, we've already got, I think it's 20 to 25 families have reached out and said, man, they're interested in coming. And,
wow.
and we're talking about in a very rural area where we're going. And so this is not something we're just, saying others should do. This is our literally daily life. I'll call Eric and he's like, I've got an ad running for this and I've got an ad running for that. So we constantly do this. But okay, so number 1, targeted a reach. Number 2, reaching souls. Obviously, that's what it's all about, reaching people for Christ. Number 3, you kind of get the community to engage. You really begin to start to see things like if you're doing an event in your church, like, I don't know, you're doing an outreach in your church or you're doing a play or something like that, or a cookout or anything like that. What a great way that you could get the word out to the whole community. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, these ads let people meet your church before they ever step inside. So they're going to be able to answer questions like, what's it like? Am I going to fit in? Is this church for someone like me? All right. Just from their phone, just from engaging with you. they're going to
Inside.
get the idea.
Yep, it's so true. And at the same time, as a ministry or as a church, I was a pastor for several years, and now as a traveling ministry, there's a limited budget. So that's what makes it beautiful, is it's cost effective. Because you're targeting, you're not blowing through, like Eric said, thousands of dollars that are just going willy-nilly, and it's going to the other side of the country, or it's going to New Guinea or something like that. And it's like, well, that was a waste, and so you want to reach your city. Now, how did Jesus say it? Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, and to the ends of the earth, right?
Yeah, and this thing, people will not come in cold. I guess back in the day, we would just walk into a church and we wouldn't know anything. We meet people and we meet them for the first time. Now you can look at their Facebook profile, you can look at their page, you can watch their sermons. I do think this is super relevant, because I typically will not visit a church unless I've watched their live stream or their sermon, or at least read their website. And I can see right away, is this something I'm going to like?
Yeah.
So out of the thousands or millions of people scrolling Facebook, they're right there. They're looking for somewhere to belong. And if you're the right, you're not the right church for everybody.
No.
And that's hard to understand. But like, your church might be awesome, but it might just not be it's not the church for everybody. So people will be able to see you, and they won't feel awkward about coming in the first time. In fact, they may already really love you. Their first visit, they might already know, this is our church. We really love this pastor's sermons. We love what their mission is, before they ever meet you.
I'll shock you. I've never told this to you, Eric, before, but I have a friend. His name is Dr. Owen Weston, and he studied 33,000 American churches over 35 years. And he gave me a statistic that blew my mind. He said 50% of church visitors get to the parking lot and turn around and go home.
Oh my gosh.
And I go, why? And he said, this is nationwide. 50% of them don't even get out of the car. He goes, because they talk themselves out of it, because they don't know anybody, or they don't know what it's like in there, or they don't know if they'll like the music, or you understand. So it's the fear of the unknown. So you're kind of clearing that up before they even get to the parking lot. So he blew my mind. He had worked for a Baptist organization for decades. And then he ended up working with the Church of God. That's how I met him, was with the Church of God. And he had advised the Church of God on a national level and said, you've got to have a parking lot ministry, because otherwise these visitors are coming and they're just turning around and leaving.
That's insane.
Yeah, 50%.
That's insane.
That's crazy.
I can see that, though. I went to a church. I visited a church for the first time, and I don't do a lot of first-time church visiting. Luckily, I found. But I will tell you, the church that I've attended for the last 8 years when I moved to Nashville, funny enough, I found the church through a Facebook ad, and it just happened to come up on my feed, and I was like, who is this? Well, my friends were commenting on this, and I said, who is this guy? And he happened to be, like a prominently known Christian, publishing guy. And I was like, but I didn't know that. I honestly didn't know. And he invited me to a small group through a Facebook ad. I walked into the small group. I still didn't know that the guy was like nationally known or whatever. And so I just went in there, and it was through a Facebook ad. He was running his own Facebook ads for the church that he was running a Bible study, Sunday morning Bible study. He took it on himself to run a little ad, and it was just him, and said, hey, I invite you to come to my church to this Bible study. And I said, hey, people are commenting on this post. He looks I'm going to go to it. I went to it that first week. I felt like this is it. This is the church. And we were there for 8 years. We actually are still there, but we're in an interim position right now, so we had to kind of leave to do a worship position. But we are still at that church over 8 years. Now, I've told this before, but I became the media director. I led the youth worship team. Wow. I did worship leading. I helped them move and built their stage and their platform and all their so that's all volunteer. Now, I was just one guy that showed up through a Facebook ad, and then helped build that church to, through a whole building move and everything. So the value off this simple Facebook ad, not only did it, so I don't visit churches because I found that church through a Facebook ad 8 years ago. But there was some reason that I needed to visit a church. We were going to visit a church last year. Some of our friends went to it, and one of my son's friends went to it. So I think let's go down here. We'll visit this church. So we went to the church, and we got into the church, and the church time was wrong. It was like supposed to be at 10, but we got there at 10, but they had moved their services but didn't put it on their website. So we walked into the foyer, and the church was already going on. Nobody was in the foyer. Nobody talked to us. We walked around awkwardly for 5 minutes, found out there was another family too that came in, walked around awkwardly, and we both left, never went back. And that was just crazy. I mean, they didn't have anybody out there to talk to us. They didn't publish the right time on their website. And this is a fairly big church too. And it was just awkward. And I was like, this is so awkward. I don't even want to be here. I just left. And so I never, that statistic you shared blows me away, that there are people driving up to a church thinking I'm going to go in, but they're so nervous and anxious about what's going to happen.
50%. I was like, that's crazy. And he said, no, I'm telling you, he said, half the people show up, either they get out of the car and they talk themselves out of it and they leave because they don't know what it looks like. And, maybe that church doesn't have a Facebook Live or a streaming service or whatever, you know what I mean? And they may have just gone, and just kind of randomly picked a church, but
it is scary. I've never been an anxious guy, but when I moved to Nashville 8 years ago, I started becoming anxious about new people, new environments. And so I can understand how, you're in a new place.
Yes.
You're anxious. And a lot of people are like that. They just are nervous to go and meet people.
Yes. And it's so crazy because if you think, especially post-COVID, and we've had people come through the Facebook ads to meetings that said, I have not left. One lady said, I haven't left my house in 3 years. I'm like, no. She goes, I'm telling you, I have not left. I have lived on Amazon Prime for 3 years in my house. And I'm like,
that's crazy.
And that's where some people are. I mean, look, some people are still masked up. So it blows.
Wait a minute. Are you? So she saw your Facebook ad and came to a meeting. She finally said, "Okay, I'm going to get out."
Yep. And so she came, and the Lord met her, and she ended up rededicating her life to Christ. And she said, she said this whole COVID thing just scared the daylights out of me. She just thought it was the end of the world. But it just goes to show you that's where the people are and stuff. And so, and so what does it do is the Facebook ads builds trust. It builds trust. One, they saw the video. Two, then they find out the name of this church and all the details and the website. And now they're like, okay, I feel better. And then they get a text as well as an email about the church. So now they're starting to trust that ministry. And it's really crazy how church, I mean, you could do so much with it. And we know of large ministries. I don't want to say their name because I don't want to get myself in trouble, but large ministries and churches that literally have grown their church. I know one ministry personally that went from 800 members to over 5,000 just primarily through Facebook ads. And I can't say who it is, but
that's huge.
Mega ministry, and they live week by week on Facebook ads. And,
well, this goes into ads turn outreach into measurable stewardship, and you can't manage what you don't measure if you don't know what's going on. And so you can measure this stuff. And Tom's right. I'm going to go back before. Know, like, trust. That's what you're building. It might take 5 Facebook ads.
Say that again. I never
know your know, like, trust. That it's basically in the sales world. People aren't going to buy from you if they don't know you, like you, and trust you. And so everything that you're doing has to build know, like, trust. And I think that these ads do that, especially because in the Lead Zapper, Church Link program, if they see your ad and when they click on it, if they put their email in, they're going to get automated emails and text messages from Church Link on your behalf. So, hey, welcome. You're invited to church on Sunday morning, etc. And also, you're going to get the leads on a sheet that you can actually call them. So
Right.
if 10 people a week opt into your ad, or 10 people a day, you could literally call 10 new families a day and say, hey, we saw that you're interested in our church. And they say, oh yeah. And think you could just go through all the stories, that people have. These are real people.
We've got a friend that did a Facebook ad for a Bible study, for a ladies' Bible study. And I think it was like, I don't want to exaggerate, but I think it was something like 20 people showed up that they never knew before for this ladies' Bible study. So it doesn't have to be, let me just kind of dispel that for a minute. It doesn't have to just be a Sunday morning service. Maybe you're a layperson and you're like, you know what, I want to do something for God. You know what? You could do some Facebook ads yourself, get a large following in like a home group type of meeting, or home groups, and plant them all over a city, and because there's people that are looking for that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, Tom, you've told me before, the midweek services work really well because you're not competing on Sunday morning. You're like the Wednesday night churches or the Thursday night Bible studies. Those things are great, and you can target those people for those events. And I think the reason why I would use the midweek service in my ad, if I was doing this for my church today, is because if you go to a Sunday morning church and let's say there's 100 people at church, it's hard to connect with the pastor. It's hard to connect with anybody in a big group with 100 people, right? Yep. But if you go to a small group on a Wednesday night and you get the guts to walk into that small group, and then there's 10 people, you meet a few people, meet a guy who's interested in motorcycles, meet a family who has kids your same age as your kids, yep. Then you leave there going, wow, we could come back Sunday. So a lot of our midweek service ads seem to work really good, and I think it's because people connect with people easier in a small group, right, Tom? I mean, yep. It's not like a big, thing. I've been to churches where you go in, you listen to the music, you love it, you turn around, you walk out, and it's like, that was awkward. That's not going to happen on a Wednesday night with a Bible study. Right. So because you're sending them a text, you're sending them an email, then they come to your Wednesday night Bible study. Now you're face to face with them. You're building up this trust, and then they're going to come to Sunday. Then you meet their family, their kids, et cetera, et cetera. That's how it would be easier for me. Even when we talk about measuring our results, is if hey, we have a Wednesday night Bible study. It's usually 20 people, but every week now it's been 30 people. We're getting 10 new people a week coming to our Bible study. Yep. So it would be easier to measure. And it would be more likely, I think, for them to feel personally connected to you than if you miss them, as a first-time visitor on a Sunday. I know churches put in all kinds of things like greeting teams and et cetera. They put them in all these infrastructure to try not to miss people. But I think for some reason we've evolved. We know when it's a greeter or when it's a real true, hey, I met a guy at church, he's a cool guy. Or I met a guy who shook my hand and said, welcome to our church. That to me feels, I'm not putting down greeter ministries, but to me it's less, it never feels like, oh, I met somebody. It feels like, oh, they greeted me. That was
right. Yeah, that was nice. It really was impacting. And yeah, I mean, we had a new church start with us here in the Midwest, and two of the families that came thanked the pastor again and again after service. And the pastor contacted me and told me about it and said, these were leaders who had left a church that had gone really woke and stuff like that. And they were discouraged, and they ended up going to his church all because of that Facebook ad. And he was in a more rural community. And so that's where I want to encourage you. It doesn't matter if you're in the city or in a rural community. This will begin to reach people. Like I'm going this weekend, I'm going to South Carolina in the middle of a very much more rural area. It's not like, in the heart of a city, a major city, like you're near Nashville, it's nothing like that. We're talking way out in the rural area. And up until now, what have these churches been able to do, or ministries or whatever? They've just had to work twice as hard as the bigger city church. So
Yeah, I mean, for example, I work at a church, First Baptist Church, Lewisburg, Tennessee. The population of that city is 12,000. It's very rural. I mean, it's kind of a seat. You can tell. I mean, they have a city center. It's kind of a city where all of the farming communities probably come there to the Tractor Supply, to the Lowe's, but it's not a huge city. It's 45 minutes south of Nashville. And our pastor was this week. He was preaching about in that little town, and it's a pretty rural town. It's not like farm, but it's pretty country. You know, it's like
Yeah.
there are 40. I think he said there are 40 churches in that little town. 40. You know, and
Wow.
and if you drive around the square in Lewisburg, it's beautiful. They got the courthouse. And there's churches like on every corner, and then probably in every suburb, you know. But I think they said there's 5 or 6 Baptist churches, and there's 5 or 6 Methodist churches. But that's rural is still important because out of all those churches, you know, you're going to look around and you're going to find the one that you're going to know and like and trust through getting to know them. One of my technicians that I worked with, he started his own piano tuning company in rural Oklahoma, and he's way out there. I mean, people will tell me, well, how can I do a business in the middle of nowhere? There's nobody out here. And so he started using Facebook on his own. I didn't tell him anything about it. And he probably had the most growth of any of our students that year. He exploded because nobody could find a piano tuner, and he would just post in all those groups and get all these tunings. He was tuning and he was killing it through rural Oklahoma through his little Facebook thing. And he was just doing organic, kind of running an ad or whatever, and going into these groups. So guys, if you're in a small town where you're like, man, we got 25 people in our church, we don't have a lot of people, erase that mindset, because there are people everywhere that are close enough to you that if they knew who you were and if they liked you and they trusted you, they wouldn't come to your church, and your church could go from 20 to 40.
And you know what? Yeah. I mean, the average American church, what blows people's minds, they see these mega churches, the Joel Osteens and them, and they think that's the average American church. The average American church is like 55 people. So 55 to 60 people is the average American church. Now, I can't say for Canada, but that's roughly the average American. So you got to ask yourself, would you do it for one family? You know, like the guy here in the Midwest, that family came and said to him, man, this was just, you're a godsend. I mean, it's such a godsend. So, but let me just say this kind of as we're wrapping this up, you know, Facebook ads, they don't replace prayer, preaching, or the Holy Spirit. All they do is they position the church where the harvest already is. That's all it is. It just puts you out there. It positions the church where the harvest already is. And so that's what I want to encourage you guys in closing. And check out our website, getchurchlink.com. Maybe we can help you. We would love to be a blessing to more churches, ministries, individuals. If you're like, hey, I want to start a Bible study, but I know 2 people in town, you know, fine, great. We'd love to help you. And so all the details are there, the costs. And so we've kind of learned, Eric and I have kind of, by a trial and error, we've learned several things that work and several things that don't work. And one of the things we learned that doesn't work is to say, well, we're going to kick tires for 1 month. And then it's like, how can you do much in any kind of marketing or advertising in 1 month? No business would ever do that. Never.
Right. It's a long game, and you're investing in people, and
so like we ask for a quarter, like 3 months. Give it 3 months, see what God does. You know. So
yeah, 3 months, and you know, we will be able to measure this. Tom, can I share my screen? Can I share a screen?
I think you can.
I'm gonna try to, because I want to show this. I want to kind of give an overview before we end of you know, kind of the technical stuff. Oh, I got this. I'll share my screen with you guys. I want to show you this. I think it's really important. Let's see.
I don't know how to give you access.
It's okay. Chrome tab. Let's see. Entire screen. I think I'm gonna hit share, and it says I'm doing it.
Oh, there it is.
Perfect. Thank you, Tom. So if you go to getchurchlink.com and you click on the beta, you'll see something. This is the graphic that I kind of wanted you guys to see. Because when we go to do ChurchLink, it's not just a Facebook ad. It's not just a little thing that you're doing. It's not a boost post. It is an entire outreach funnel to get those people off of the internet, off of Facebook and into your church. And so it's automated. So the first thing that would happen is they would probably see a video and they'd say, "Oh, I like this church," and it would say, "Hey, come to our thing. It's going to be this." It's sort of like it's a specific type of video that Tom has worked on. It doesn't say your church name and your time. It kind of leads them into giving their information so that we can properly put them through the funnel and really connect with them. So it isn't just a banner ad like, "Hey, church service at 7:00 at 10 West Main Street." That's not what it is.
Right.
It's very specific, and that's why this works better than boosting a post or just putting out a flyer. So
there you go. Now they can see it better.
Perfect. So they're basically going to see your video, and then they're going to, which we make, and so it's perfect. It works, and that's what we need to be able to measure that's working. Then they're going to get a text from ChurchLink saying, "Hey, thanks for opting in. Our service is this time. I'm Pastor John. If you need me, let me know." So they can actually respond to that text message. They're also going to get an email, and it's going to say, "Hey, the same kind of thing. Here's our church. Here's our information." They can reply to that email so you can connect with them. You're also going to get a list of their leads as they come in. So you can do whatever you want with those leads. If you're tech savvy, you can add them to your planning center. You can zap them into your CRM, which is your customer relation management software. Anything your church is using to kind of keep track of people. Yeah. And if you don't know that stuff, no worries, because our team will help you. We can show you the tools where you can kind of start to go, okay, I can take care of, let's say you get 100 leads a month. What are you going to do with those 100 leads, 100 families a month that are interested? You're going to talk to them, text them, call them, and then you can email them over and over again, okay? And so we will send out the emails for you. With the ChurchLink program, you're going to get that automated email. And so that first week, maybe they don't visit. Maybe they're like, "Well, I was busy. I was on vacation." In a couple weeks, we're going to send them another email and another text. "Hey, did you remember that you were wanting to come to church?" And so it's a continual reach out. And so your list is growing and your automation is continuing to work for you. It's kind of, it's an automated system that doesn't really require you as a pastor or a church member to do anything if you don't want to. You can say, "Look, just automate these 5 messages," and we'll automate those messages, and then they just go out. And when people show up to your church, you can say, "How did you find out?" And they'll tell you, "I saw you on Facebook." So this is not just a Facebook ad. ChurchLink is a funnel program that we make for your church, specifically tailored to your church, using all the tools that we know and that Tom knows works, and Tom really leads the video section of this because he's been doing these videos for his ministry for years, and he knows what works. And so you kind of have to find out what works and just do it over and over again as a marketer, and that's what we're going to help you do. So I think that's it. And if you want to get in the beta, you can just scroll down here, and like Tom was saying, it's a quarterly thing. So you can do the lowest tier, which is $500 a month for 3 months. So you would just pay one payment and you'd be in the program for 3 months, and you can renew that. That'll renew every 3 months. Or you can, if you get up to the beta $1,000 a month, that's good because you're going to reach even more people. It's the same program. It's just basically we pour more gas on the ads. That's all it is. You're going to get more leads and have more opportunities. So whatever you can afford to do the most you can afford to do, because this is a great program to help you reach people.
Yeah. And you look at, any kind of marketing, any kind of advertising, it's going to cost something, but at the same time, it comes back because those people, they love your church, they sow into your church. And so those resources come back many, many, many times over. We had one person thought it was $5 a month. It's like, well, we could send out one person maybe for $5, But,
right.
Yeah. So it's to really, really massively throw the net. That's what we're doing. We're throwing a net, over your city, Charlotte or Tampa, or we're Nashville or Minneapolis or Portland, wherever it is that you're from. We're just throwing a net and we're helping catch the fish, and all you got to do is just draw it in. And so we're doing a lot of heavy lifting on the one side. Usually a program like this will cost more than double
Oh yeah, I'm going to make sure this $500 a month for 3 months. We're estimating around 150 new visitors a year, and these are the numbers are sort of estimates because you're reaching a lot of people. You're texting them. You're doing this thing, and then over 150 new people walking in your church this year would change. For me, I know I work with small church pastors. I know that would change everything. That's why I got so excited about ChurchLink. I was like, man, if we were a church of 100 and we had 150 new visitors this year, this would change everything. And there are more things to do. You still have to have a greeting team. You still have to have stuff to do everything. But I want to put it in perspective for you guys. As a digital marketer, I personally know people who are spending over $100,000 a month on Facebook ads. I know another business person I worked with who spent over $70,000 in a year on just on ads, and this is why I've heard stories. Those are two personal stories I know, but I've also heard a lot of people say, "Oh, we spend $30,000 a month on Facebook ads." I work with some other marketers, and that's what they're doing. I do know a guy personally. His company's spending over $30,000 per webinar. To bring in people to their webinar, and their sales were over $250,000 a month with their product because they're scaling a system that works. They figured out this works, and they just throw more gas on that system.
Right.
And we're not saying that you should do that. This right here is a good thing. Could you get 150 new people for $500 a month? Yes, per year. That would change everything. You don't. So I just want you guys to shift your mind into that digital world and think about the money. Nobody's saying let's spend 30 grand a month, but what about 500 a month? What if we could start there and measure it and see that it works? Because in marketing, if this works, you can scale this at any time. You could anytime say, hey, this is working great. Let's add another 500 a month. Not only that, you're going to get more tithes and offering. You're going to have more people coming in. You'll have more families. Your church will grow. That's the point. You want to grow your church. You want to reach more people. And the $500 a month, even if that sounds like a lot, you just have to shift your thinking and do what one of our current clients, I think he just asked the church, somebody in the church, hey, we want to do this program, and the person just donated all the money right off. People are looking to give money to your church. They're looking for the church to grow. They're looking for those things to happen. So if you give them an opportunity, hey, we've got an opportunity to grow the church through this program. I almost guarantee you there are families in your church, even if you're a small church, that if you would provide them with that, you say, look, we don't have a lot of money in our budget, but we want to reach more people. That's the mission of your church. And there are people in your church right now who would write the check. I will tell you that. Tom, probably you can expand on that if you like, Tom.
Yeah. I was talking to one pastor, and he told me that each year they would do food giveaways in the park. And I said, what did that cost you? Oh man, that went beginning to end about $1,500 a year. And I'm like, okay, how many physical bodies came to your church from that? Oh, 0. Okay, so how many years you've been doing that? Oh, 10, 15 years. So you're literally throwing $1,500 away on a food distribution in a park where you're seeing nobody come to church, nobody come for discipleship. That's just not good business sense. I mean, any business person would say that's just insanity. That's just throwing good money after bad money,
Yeah, I mean, we do the harvest parties. I would work at big churches, and they would spend thousands of dollars. I don't know how many thousands, maybe let's say $5,000 on one harvest party after church, and they would do like a heart thing. And I always felt like those events were just a lot of extra work on me and the staff, and it just created a lot of drama and everything. And then I don't know if it ever really brought people to our church. I mean, just think of the things you're doing and what you're spending, and kind of can you measure those and say, yeah, that's bringing 10 new families a month or even a year to our church? Is it working?
Exactly. And it's just even just beginning to step out in faith and just say, you know what, it's the new year. Let's go ahead and let's take a massive step of faith as a ministry, and let's just go for it. And let's just swing for it, because we've tried the other, it's yielded 0. So let's just try something else. I was just talking with another pastor, and I said, listen, you've tried the other. How has it been working? And they said, terrible. And I'm like, well, then why keep doing that? I mean, you understand. And so why keep doing that and going back to that model if it's not bringing in a harvest of souls? Because at the end of the day, obviously it's all about reaching people. And so, so listen, if you're watching this, wherever you're watching this, if you're not our friend, click like and subscribe. We'd love to be your friends on social media. Check out Eric. He's got a great ministry called Worship the King, as well as some other endeavors. But also check out our website, getchurchlink.com. If you're a part of a church, man, forward it to your pastor, forward it to the leadership. Tell them to check it out. We'd love to help your church grow. Love to be a blessing to you guys. And I pray this encouraged you today. And anything else you got, Eric, you wanted to share?
Oh, I don't know. I had something in my head and then it went away. I was like, that's a good wrap. That's a great wrap, Tom. No, I just think we have to shift our thinking. Yeah. Shift your thinking. I do it all the time. And because I run multiple online companies and my whole life has been about, like I've written books and published and write videos, but I make these great videos to teach people how to play guitar. But if I don't get them out there, if people don't buy them, then they don't really help anybody. And so you have to shift your thinking down to you have a great church. You have a great message. We have the greatest message of all time. And we have to quit being shy and being scared and quit doing the same things over and over again and being frustrated. I mean, I'm talking to myself too. I have to be able to shake all of this off and say, what isn't working? Let's try something different. And if you can do that, you'll always grow your church. You'll always grow your church. Try ChurchLink and see if it works. We can measure it. We can know it works, or it doesn't work for you. And you say, well, we tried that. Let's try something else. You, as an entrepreneur, for the gospel, as a pastor, as a shepherd, you are charged with this burden. You have to reach the lost, and I think it's important that we do everything we can to do what God's called us to do.
Yeah, me too, my friend. And I just spoke with a pastor and I was telling him about it. I said, hey, listen, we'd love to be a blessing. We'd love to help you, and he said, well, I've tried boosting before and got nothing. And he said, but I think I could do it myself. And so then he came back to me and he said, I tried it again and it didn't work. And I'm like, yeah, but you're just going back to the same well. I said, why don't you just try something a little different? So he's got to talk to his leadership and stuff, but he's realizing, listen, there's got to be a method to this. Because businesses are spending a lot of money and they're seeing a huge return. And we want to see the kingdom of God grow. And so that's what ChurchLink is about. We want to come alongside you, help you in your church ministry or even Bible study, whatever it is that you're doing. So check it out. We love you guys. Bless you. Thanks for watching today.
Thanks,
all right?
Tom. Yep.
God bless. Thanks, Eric, for coming.